Aloha, Flow Riders. Welcome to another edition of The Flow. I'm not laughing. You're laughing.
I'm definitely laughing.
I'm your co-host, Doc Rock, along with my awesome co-host.
Hey, everyone. It's Katie.
We
were being silly right before we jumped on, which is the worst.
Yeah, right before, anyway, never mind. So today we're going to continue our series of our multi-week do something and do it good. That's what I'm calling it. That's the new name. Do something and do it good. We've been working with interviews. This go around, we, talk about podcasting and so forth, et cetera. And so today is lab week. Today. This week is where we get into and we talk about how to actually do it and give you some things to help you implementate it. There we go. And happy St. Patrick's Day to you all. Top of the morning to you.
Ooh. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Hopefully the leprechauns have not stolen all of your stuff. Hopefully they have left you gold everywhere. Doc is on the move. He's on the move. There
now
we go.
Now we're proper. No. We can't be out here in these streets.
Now everyone can green screen that.
Oh, that would be terrible. It was funny. I kicked and screamed about making green. Aubrey insisted, right? And I'm like, Aubrey, but people are going to use green screen, it's going to disappear. And then I fought so hard with my manufacturer about trying to get this specific Tombuck blue, and it didn't work. So I just, you know what? Screw it. Just pick green. And then now I like it. And a lot of people pick it. And I'm like, okay, I hope they don't green screen. Anyway, so what do we have on the agenda today, Katie? So many cool stuff to do.
So many cool things to do. So before we even so as you said, this is an interviewing lab. And so we'll see if this works out. But the idea is to practice what we preach. So in the last couple of weeks, we've introduced the topic of interviews and the importance of nailing interviews and what that actually means. And then last week, you did an incredible interview with Elsie, who is I'm still shaking at how good she is.
She's the
how
business.
Incredible that episode was. So if you missed that one, go back and check that one out again. So this week, we're just going to talk through some ways to approach practicing for interviews and how to rethink and reframe, those are hard words to say, your interview questions so that you can nail it. And because I'm totally a type A kind of person, we made a special fun little worksheet for you. So you don't get off easy. You have to play along with us. So if you swing over to ecamm.tv/interview lab, all one word, interview lab, that will give you a PDF download that you can fill out and work through some of this content yourself. So feel free to share your results and your practice in the Ecamm community. That's a great space to be practicing with us, because I think that's the important, that's the lab mentality, is we're going to actually practice this, because you don't get better by talking about it. You get better by doing it. I guess in this case, you get better by talking and doing because you're interviewing, but
yes. Okay. So one of the things that I talked about, so I used to teach this in a workshop, and I just haven't done it in a while because I'm too busy. But there's this interview. It's a really old interview. We're talking 1971. Paul was in his mid-30s. And it's by a guy named Pierre Berton. And Pierre Berton interviews Bruce Lee. And I just copied this interview, and I'm going to put it into the chat. Actually, let me give context to this. And the reason why whenever I teach interviewing, I always show this interview, because there's many of fantastic interviews out there. But this one probably either predates most people or wasn't on most people's radar, because you had to kind of be a martial arts person to seek out, sort of Bruce Lee interviews. And in 1971, I was just coming out of diapers. So this interview to me epitomizes what it looks like to be extremely curious. Ooh, why did he press that button? Oh my God. Do that. Come back. Undo.
I'm not as cool as Elsie. You can't have
how the heck
Elsie.
Did I do that? Uh-oh. And I can't even press undo. What the heck? No. How did it switch to that?
This would be really great for us if we had one of those, we'll be right back. We're experiencing
I'll just fix it, but how strange is that? I thought, you know what? You know what happens? When you make your changes to your scenes, it's a good idea, once you got everything working, to kind of close and reopen, because what happened was I was typing something into the chat, and then I thought in the comment box you could press undo and then keep
You
typing. But what
hotkeyed.
it did was it undoes the last thing.
Ecamm thing.
Yeah, the last Ecamm thing. It doesn't undo the typing.
Moment.
So now we know. Anyway, I won't even fix that edit. I'm gonna leave that. So you guys just deal with it. Anyway, so what's really interesting about this interview, to me, it epitomizes the concept of researching and getting all of that down, so to speak, but also making sure that you remain so curious that the interview has that feeling, that feeling that this person is going to dig something out that you haven't heard before. And this, to me, is one of the best interviews. And there, again, 1971 to now, still one of the best interviews where the dude was so dialed in and so genuinely curious. And I study interviewers so that way when it's my turn, I can do good at it. I think a lot of people just think interview is asking questions. So I wanted to give you an example of what a really, really good interview looks like. And I will even say, if you happen to find one where you were just like, wow, that interview was amazing, by all means share it, because we're always looking for more sort of research material. But yeah, this one is so good. And I know it's old. It's in barely black and white. It's slightly colored, but trust me, it's a really good interview.
Get over it.
Yeah.
You should be focused on the content anyway. Focused
Katie
on
wasn't even born when this interview came
storytelling.
out. How about that?
I was on my way. In a few more years past that. Well, I want to. Before we jump to, because we are going to practice and play a little bit, and hopefully you will play with us, or take these and grab that worksheet and play a little bit later with some of your friends and folks in the Ecamm fam as well. But Doc mentioned this again. It's like there's a couple of important reminders here, right? So there's no idea. We shouldn't be going after a set of perfect questions. And everything that Doc just said in describing that interview and the reason that he liked it was that through line of curiosity. And I think it is really difficult to actually be curious when you've overplanned and over researched. So if you are like me and you are a super over planner, over researcher, over everything, or you're going to want to put that aside for a little bit, or do my trick that I think I talked about 2 episodes ago, which is over research and over plan, etc., and then put it away and let it just sit there in your head for a couple of days so that you still have the ability to be curious while being researched. Because it is very difficult to have a really good interview if you are reading off a list of questions or if you've memorized a list of questions, because you're always just thinking about the next question and not actually listening to what that person is saying. So let's put away the idea of perfect questions. Let's put away of going through all of our past interviews and judging all of our past. Let's forget about that. Let's just move forward. Let's focus on the word curiosity, and I'm being really, really curious. And let's be okay with being a little bit uncomfortable, because one of the really big, important parts of interviewing that many people talk about is this idea of allowing that silence, that pause, that moment for things to just sit there. And that can feel uncomfortable if you're not used to it. It's a practice. So we're going to feel squishy and uncomfortable. We're building a muscle. We're building an interviewing muscle, which means we actually have to work through it a little bit. So did I miss anything there, Doc? Anything from your interviewing experience?
No, I think the thing that you said that is very important is that you're going to feel uncomfortable. And if you think about it, if you go to a job interview, there's a level of uncomfort there, right? But you're trying to put in your best. They're also trying to make sure that they're picking the right person, and that's there. Even if you're going on that first date, or you're going to go meet somebody new that's important to your other half, right? Say, you got to go meet the bosses of the other half, and you're going to be uncomfortable while they wait to ask you weird questions. So we know this is real, but somehow when we get here, we're like, I want to be comfortable when I do my interview. No, it just doesn't work that way. It's just a thing. Officer pulls you over right now. You ain't did nothing wrong. You get the little thing in your chest.
Like,
yeah. Like, do you know what you was doing? Yeah. Hands on the wheel, feet on the gas. What? Yeah, it's one of those things. Like we are always nervous when someone's, throwing questions at you, or you throwing questions at them. You're nervous of what they might say. So yeah, that's normal. So yeah, you gotta lean into it, I guess. That was good what you said.
Absolutely. All right, so I had ChatGPT, as I always do, help me with some of these notes, and I thought it might be fun. Well, my me and my robot friends thought it would be fun fun for us to take a look at some of these common kind of interviewing questions and rewrite them to get past that surface level and into this like deeper, actual, authentic space. So, and I know you're so good at this, Doc. So, what do you think about the idea of let's so there's three of them here that are kind of common interview questions that almost everyone asks. Let's rewrite these together. I know you're gonna be incredible at this, and I will do my best to try to be good at this. All right. So the first one out there is tell us about your journey. Tell us your story. Tell us more about you. So instead of that, what should we have people be thinking of? Not writing down, but like if that's your kickoff question, how can we rephrase that to not be so vague and so surface level? Because again, if you ask someone a question like this, it they're going to default back to those kind of rehearsed default answers, right? Instead of the actual content that you're probably trying to get. So, what do you think? What's a good
Yeah.
replacement?
I'll use a real question because I can do it. I live in a condo, but one of my favorite things in the planet, hands down, is eggs. I recently bought some eggs from the super, and Katie, the way that the yellow was like a roadcaster button, it was so pale
Yeah.
and clear, and like the eggs were borderline flavorless. So I'm like, damn, I wish I could be like Katie and to have some chickens at my house, right? So I would, say the question to you is, when you decided that you were going to keep chickens, like what was the signpost that says, yes, this is the right way to go, or no, I need to make a turn and go this way? Like what really triggered that for you? Like that's how you ask
Oh,
someone how they
see,
started their
that's
journey, as opposed to like, hey, can
yeah.
you tell us how you started on your journey? You know what I mean? Like it's the same question, but it's way more what's the word I'm looking for? I want to say intriguing, but that's not the right word. I guess that's the right word. It just digs a little deeper. The first one goes like this, scratch the surface. The second one takes a huge shovel of chicken stuff. Oops, almost came out.
It also puts you, because it's not what you're expecting necessarily to hear as the guest. It puts you back, like as you were saying that, and I know we're not actually doing like a full real interview here, but I was going back through my head and I was like, oh yeah, what was the for like it wasn't what I was expecting, right? So I'm going back through my head to see what actually was that first step. Like it, and so I think you're right. You probably are going to get a better question answer experience for your viewers, for your community, than if it was more of a vague question. Because tell us about my journey would almost be, it's almost too big,
Yeah.
I think, for
Well,
people
and
to be
then
able to
I
answer
guess also
easily.
the word journey doesn't match to walk into your backyard. I've been there. It's about 15 feet. What kind of journey is 15 feet? That's like 8 steps for me. You know what I'm saying? So like
Oh,
it
I could
had
take you on a journey for
it had to be
18 feet.
something else, right? It has to be something different. And well, what's funny is because you actually had to move the coop, so you had to actually fly the coop, so to speak. So yeah, that's a whole
Yeah.
different thing. And I feel that even if the normally I hate to seed answers, right? But even if the person said, well, I don't know, like what do you mean? And I could still follow up with is it a love for eggs? Were you just curious, looking for a hobby? I can go there, which is not really seeding, but you're kind of helping them, reformulate the question in their own head, because you will occasionally get, well, I don't really understand the question. And so I think it's a deeper, more insightful question. So if I were going to be talking to Matt, right? I should have put you in a different scene, but Matt said this is an important topic. My guests get a guide that helps prepare for any shows. And then I have a book on how to host better conversations. The more we talk, the
Ooh.
better people get. So if I was going to
What's the
posit it,
book, Matt? We'd love to know.
if I was going to posit a question to Matt, sort of about photography, I can be like, what was it that actually gave you the shutter bug, and describe, sort of what that feels like? Because I think everybody takes pictures, but then there's those of us who take pictures. There's a difference. So what was it that, turned Matt into from taking pictures to like, let me just build a whole studio, put all kinds of props in here and some equipment. Because when you decide to do the latter, it gets crazy expensive.
Well, that was a great example because the next question I had for you was, how did you get started? And I think you just answered that. So thinking through again, kind of the specifics of it. So instead of asking something like, how did you get started? Having them go back to that moment and walk through that story with you is better, right? So being more specific with those questions, I think will go a long way.
Yeah. Here's a good one. So in the tradings in the chat, and so I would go to in the trading is like, man, this trading situation is something that I've been curious about for a very long time because one of the very first internet trends was sort of day trading. Well, when you started, like, what was the thing that triggered you to start? Or if you could tell anybody like how to get started, what would be the reasons more or less than the how to first, and then we'll get into the how to. And then, he can answer that question. Again, it's still different than, how'd you get started? I hate those questions because you can Google that. Like, it doesn't provide anything to the audience. Now, asking like, if you could give us 3 steps of your way to get started, that's different, right?
Yeah.
Tell us when you got started, what was it that let you knew, like, this is what I'm going to do. Matter of fact, I'm going to change my handle, my avatar name to this. Like, how did you know that trading meant that to you? You know what I mean? So, like, you can find a better way to get to the same answer without the generic, how did you get started? I rosined up my bow and I played my fiddle hard. That's how I got started.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. You don't have to use these kinds of questions at all. But if you are going to start your interview with questions like this, getting more specific is important and will help guide the conversation better. And the thing that Doc has done with, maybe he's realized he's done it and maybe he hasn't, but in a lot of these examples that he's been giving a this or that or a set number of things, which also helps the interview guest.
Yes.
Take big amount of content and make it smaller. So it's, they don't have to go back through everything. They don't have to feel like they're answering in some long-winded way. They're answering this or that, or maybe they take option C and say a little bit of both, but at least they have a choice in their answer. Yeah. And in the case, and I'm curious as to your take on this. I've heard a lot of interview hosts, and I've been asked a lot of interview questions that are numbers. So it's like, give me your top 3 tips. Give me your
3, 5, 7, 8.
Blah, blah, blah.
Yes. 3, 5, 7, 8. That's the magic numbers.
I struggle with on one hand, I find that formula to be smart. And I think there's obviously a reason that people are doing it. And it does curate the content better for the listener and the viewer on the other side, and certainly makes it easy to clip those moments up and be able to share them out across different platforms. As an interview guest, I find that really difficult because I'm such a need to answer correctly person that if I don't have 3 things or 4 things, I find myself these days being like, here are the 2 things that I would answer, and I don't have a third. And I've even been in instances where interview hosts have basically been like, I'll wait for a third, which is the most awkward feeling ever if you don't have that. So are numbered lists things that you incorporate into your own interviewing experiences, or is that something that you tend to avoid?
100%. So here's what you do. If the person says they come up, I'm like, so the first pushback is always, oh my God, I don't really have 5. I'm like, cool, pull out the first 3. I will almost guarantee you the second will come to you while we're doing this. So you bring them back off the list really quick, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And I really feel that what it does, so our brains are curious and our brains don't like opens. So if someone tells you that there's 3, then you realize that there's a path, and we're going to be able to get to a close. If I say give me 30, that's going to freak you out. right? So 3578 is a really good number match. I have the 3578 part I really don't get. But this is one of those things that people always come to. And if you look at YouTube, they're super good. Buzzsprout made a living off of it. Buzzsprout made millions of dollars
Lists.
off of their
Yeah.
stupid list, right? And then everyone always wants to tell you what was omitted from the list. So the advantage of the give me 3, give me 5, give me 7, whatever, is the audience will immediately jump in and tell you what you missed. So if I said to Katie, okay, listen, Tater fan, I want to know, what are your 3 absolute favorite Christian Slater movies? Now, while Katie's answering this question, chat, right, put yours in the chat. Like, what are your 3 favorite Christian Slater movies?
Oh gosh. I mean, pump up the volume is number one. See, lists are hard for me. I like my mind doesn't think in lists. Pump up the volume, Heather's. I mean, I cuffs, but that's probably only because I just reviewed these 3 movies recently. Like, definitely pump up the volume, but the other 2 I reviewed recently. So I feel like I'm probably missing one that is higher in the list than that, but I
My
can't think
third
of
one
what it
is
is
really
off the top of my
stupid,
head.
but absolutely love
No,
it.
go for it.
Gleam in the Cube. It's the
Yeah,
stupidest
yeah.
one, but I don't know. At the time that movie came out, believe it or not, I was a skater, and there was no skater movies. I absolutely just loved that freaking movie. So yeah, and then again, your audience will go in and be like, oh yeah, what about this? And then next thing you know, now you done started something, right? So that's the reason why those
Mhm.
work. And again, if you're as a guest, if you're ever in that position where you feel stuck, even you say, I'll tell you what, you asked me for 3. Right now I only have 2 that come to the top of my head, but maybe as we're talking it through, I'll come to the third. So give them a promise, and then say, okay, can we leave this there? And I promise you before we go, the last one will come to me, and then you'll keep going. And then at the end, you're like, wait, before we go, I told you I had one more. I remember what it was. Here's the other one. And then you just, rip one out, right? And it would be, pump up the volume or something like that, right? So again, you can, both sides of the story, you can close it out, but it really does help the audience know what to expect when expecting. Wait, that's a book.
Speaking of open loops, Matt, I definitely want your book recommendation. So drop that in the chat if you haven't already, because I think that would be helpful for everyone to hear as well. We love a good book on all this stuff.
Yeah, Matt said, as for the path that got them there, how they felt and what challenges they hit and what solved it. And so, who's really, really good at pulling on threads is Stephen Bartlett. And I think it's funny because there's a whole bunch of people that sort of got turned off by him because he brings crackpots onto the show. And he goes at it with a level of curiosity, knowing that it's probably crackpot, but he does it anyway because he knows that that level of intrigue is going to bring something. So when he brings on the person that tells you that they got abducted by aliens, I don't think Steven necessarily believes that, but he knows that it's intriguing enough to start a conversation. And so what he's doing, he's a conversation starter.
Yep.
And through the conversations, he can find something. So even the craziest people that have said things to you or heard them say things that do make you ask more questions. And in a way, that's kind of the goal. Get to where you could ask more questions, agree with him or not, right? And so I love how he pulls on those extra strings, similar to what Matt said.
Yeah, I do also think, and Matt's comment just like highlighted this in my brain, but you were saying earlier, Doc, thinking about job interviews and what Matt said, like those specific questions that you just had up on screen, that path, taking your guest through that path of like, what challenges did you, yeah, exactly, there you go, how they felt, what challenges they hit, how they solved it. Those are common questions that are asked in almost any job interview. And so you can pull ideas from that, particularly for podcasts, because by and large, if you're doing a podcast that is on any kind of professional topic, right? You're talking about like how to start a podcast, marketing, like, any of these kinds of topics that appeal to like working professionals in some way. Those questions of like how you did something, how you overcame a situation, like how you've taken this practice and made it yours would always be relevant to whatever your audience, whoever your audience or whoever your community is. So I think that's a really great way to think about it. If you're thinking about what are common job interview questions, and then again, how you might be able to reframe those to make them a little bit more interesting, to be able to pull on the threads a little bit more. That's a good, I hadn't really thought about that. I love a job interview. I'm like almost sad that I love my job because I love, I guess I love talking about myself. I love doing a job, being like the person being job interviewed, because I just always find the conversation to be so interesting because it's all about it's all about me. So I guess I'm just an ego person, but it also, I think, is interesting talking through a story, a history, a how you got somewhere, a how you did something. I just find fascinating. So I think there's some cool stuff we could pick up probably too from other different kinds of interviews that are not necessarily podcast interviews or TV show interviews.
I love it. And then, again, the good thing about asking list questions is it does oftentimes surface something that's sort of unexpected. And of course, you're giving the person who's answering a question a framework so they won't ramble. You're kind of helping them not worry about rambling. And it's just something about the structure. Like, they get to start out, well, sure, the first thing I would do is, hey, sign up for this trading platform or sign up for this or that. You know what I mean? So it really does help out a lot. It's super good. I like this one. All right. So what other type of questions do they want to throw at us?
Well, so the third in these three kind of intro questions that everyone asks is, what advice would you give, right? What advice would you give? How could we reframe that question?
I think the easier way to put that is, again, start with a frame. Okay. And the frame is, and I like to frame and reframe. This is my whole entire life and everything possible. Frame and reframe. I am the master reframer. So let's say we're talking about, podcasting and microphones, right? I would say someone starting a podcast, of course, one of the first things you need is a microphone. Now, there is no less than 5,100 recommendations about a microphone. In your experience, what would be like the 3 or 4 key things to let someone know about microphones? And, of course, my first answer is you kind of can't ask somebody for their recommendations for microphones, because in a way, the recommendations are something like, hey, you know what, you should try these underwear. Like it's really specific to the person. And although, something like a Yeti might sound fine on a bunch of people's voices, it sounded terrible on my voice, right? And I know people with really high voices, it sounds terrible on people with really high voices. It doesn't do well with low voices or high voices. So if you fit into one of those categories, regardless of what anybody says, you have to avoid the Yeti. It just doesn't sound good. If you have one of those really soft, calming ASMR voices, you'll be the rare person that it sounds good on, right? So you would help a person get into sort of something like that.
I love that. And as you were saying that, I was thinking another tact you could take, which we just mentioned like minutes ago, is you could say, how did you choose your microphone? Or what made you choose the microphone that you have now, right? So you could put it through the problem solution lens. So like, how did you overcome this challenge? Obviously, as a podcasting expert, you need to have a microphone. So instead of asking which one they would recommend, it's like, how did you go through the process of ending up with a microphone that you have now? Would still get to the same answer, but we'll probably get to a slightly better version of that answer, because then you've pulled on that thread and heard the story all the way through. So
let me ask you a question. Like, I'm gonna throw your
framing and
curveball.
reframing.
I'm gonna throw your curveball real quick. I say, well,
right.
my assistant Gabe just bought it and stuck it in front of me. Well, how would you pull on that question?
I actually think that curveball would be phenomenal, because it would be like, oh wow, okay, so you were okay with your assistant choosing a microphone for you, that assistant must know them well enough to understand what they were looking for. So what feedback or advice did they give to their assistant in order to end up with the right one?
Yeah.
Obviously, you love it enough that you're still using it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Either you have a great assistant. Let's talk about how you work with your assistant so that they just get you innately, or like, or wow, what level of luck that your assistant just managed to pick one that is so good that you're still using it now. That
There you
like
go.
that's impressive.
That's a very good follow back or follow up rather, because it would be easy to just panic in that moment and then go, oh, well, I wasn't expecting that. But no, what you said is really smart. And the reality is, of course, if you pick Shure, it'll probably be fine. Like there's very few people that don't sound good on the Shure microphone, but that has to do with over 100 years of knowing what they're doing. And I would say not sponsored, but yeah, sponsored, deal with it. So,
sponsored.
So that was a really good thing. So be ready. Like if someone if it comes out to be a simple answer, just say, you know what? Phenomenal. Moving on. Like, be ready. Like, don't panic over the simple answer. I think too many people, I see this happen to reporters all the time when, the person gives them the, oh my God, hold on. Call me, my man. Tell me, are you nervous in the service? Thrilled. Fifth Element, right? And it's like, come in, dale. Yes. Like the answer, you got to be ready. You got to be ready.
The one word answers.
The one word answers.
Yeah, that's actually like that's a great point because it brings us to our next topic, which is this idea of truly listening. And so I will be the first to say that I'm actually really guilty of this. This is the thing that I'm really trying hard to practice at. I am constantly thinking, I'm looking at the time. I'm thinking about especially if I have, if I have a guest on who I really like, it's not like, don't hit this the wrong way, Doc, but like I would keep Doc on this show, for like an hour and a half, whatever amount of time we need to get to the point, because Doc is a good friend, a colleague. We know like the value of the show we're trying to get through. But if I had like a really, I don't know, if I nailed the Oprah Winfrey of guests and, someone that I got on my show, I'm constantly kind of keeping tabs on the time because I know I only have a set amount of time to get what I want to get. I'm thinking much more about advancing the interview than I am about listening, which is completely wrong. I need to be thinking more about listening instead of just advancing and moving the interview forward. And I think exactly what you said, right? Like, so if someone gives a surprising answer, that's an incredible opportunity to follow up, to pull on a thread, to get to some of that content that maybe doesn't exist in another interview, isn't in that moment, because now we're having a conversation rather than an interview, right? So giving yourself the time and the space and those moments of quiet to consider and to note it, to consider what they actually said, to notice what they said, and to see if there's anything in that, even if it's a one-word answer, that might get to a really interesting next conversation point. So having that understanding and letting go a little bit of the control freak, I need to just advance this interview. Next question to hit my time, to hit the goals of the interview. I think it's in those moments of thinking about it more as a conversation, and really as much as you can being actively listening for those threads, like even in like a one-word answer where they're like, yes, like how they said it, how quickly they said it, you might be able to pull on that. Like, oh, wow. Yes, that fast. Why? Tell me more about that. Like I think there's some cool follow-ups that you could do if you didn't allow yourself to be disarmed by that moment and you didn't think like, oh shoot, that one failed, next question. Right. Which is what many of us end up doing. So it's the practicing the listening, which I think is hard for a lot of us, and allowing some silence, not rushing into the next question. It's that's my biggest pain point. I'm a talker.
Okay, so I got one really, really important for you. This drives me crazy. I mean, like absolutely crazy, and I fight about it all the time. And this becomes a definite fighting between me and my friends who are all like the marketing dudes who insist on doing things with this kind of formula. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to stand by my business because it's wrong. Because if you don't believe me, maybe you'll believe Samir Chaudhry. Okay. For those unfamiliar, Samir Chaudhry is Colin and Samir, right?
Mhm.
I think he has a little bit more street cred than me, if you want to be like that. And he mentioned in this interview he did recently,
Yeah.
when I say, Katie, so we're going to have you on Tuesday, the 17th, got it at St. Patrick's Day. And so we're going to be talking about interviewing, and I really want to get your input on what really makes a good interview. And you're like, fantastic, Doc. I have a hard out at 2 p.m. Eastern. All right, we're going to reschedule. Wait, what? No, but I waited to get this interview, whatever. And he says, I will absolutely either reschedule or completely cancel the interview. Point blank, I do not do hard outs. And I'm like, yes,
Okay.
I'm glad somebody with this big can tell everybody what I've been saying for 15 years. Because the audience is there. You got them. You're just filling them with this energy, right? And if Samir Chaudhry can do a 2-hour and 37-minute interview on YouTube to make sure that he covered all the bases for the host of
Yep.
Open Residency, you, marketer with 7 followers, can sit there until my audience gets what they need out of you. I am sorry.
Yeah,
I
it's done
hate
when
to
it's
be
done.
an ass
Yep.
about it, but I cannot stand, I have a hard out. Like, if we're doing a Zoom meeting, gangster. But when we're doing an interview and, like, bro, if you ain't got 4 or 5 million followers, don't even talk to me about your heart out. I just don't like it. I hate it because I hate when I see the thing and it's really good. Like, okay, guys, we gotta go. And half the time, it's the podcast. It's not even the interviewee. It's the podcast host, right? And
Yeah.
the reason for this. Now, we do an hour show and we plan for an hour show and we don't go over. And most of the time, it's because I do another show directly after, right? And even then, it feels uncomfortable because there's many a times that we have to leave this unfinished. And I really don't like it. It messes with me. And unfortunately, like I'm telling you, if you're doing your show and your guest tells you that, I don't know, bro, you got to do you. But I'm with Samir. For my show, I don't do hard outs. And honestly, it came up in the chat the other day. Someone says, well, I'm doing a show and blah, blah, blah. What about intros? Honestly, for my show, no intro. Just not happening. But, for the work show, you guys want to interview? Want a show? And maybe we put it there because it shows us an Ecamm feature. I really don't know, but I don't even like the count. Oh, we got it down to 20 seconds, which took me 3 years to get it down to 20 seconds. I don't even like the 20 seconds. I'll be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that one doesn't hurt replay as much because most people know that it's a podcast and they'll sit through 20 seconds. My favorite Manchester show has about a 10 to 20 second pause at the beginning. It's not because of a countdown. That's how long it takes for all their systems to launch because they, multinational. And
Yeah.
it fully understand that. But yeah, it's one of those things. So I just wanted to bring that up. I really do not like hard outs. And I'm glad Samir said it.
I think it is interesting. I honestly don't know how I feel about it. Part of me likes hard outs because I've also have been on interviews where
Too long.
it goes too long and it feels rambly. And I am the person that like I can't sit in this chair for this long. Like after a certain point, like unless it's a real. So this is where I'm on both sides of this fence because if it's a really good interview and I'm having a great conversation with someone and I feel like I'm talking with friends and I see the chat popping off, like I'm not going to notice that my leg is falling asleep or that it's hot in here or that my water is too low or whatever else. Like I'm going to be like, whatever for the rest of it. I'm going to be in it. But I have been in experiences where in my mind, I thought the interview would be an hour, 30 minutes, whatever. And it's gone 2 hours. And I've like been aware that it's going to go long. I don't even have a heart out, but I was just like feeling it. Like this is too long. It's waning on too long. So I think you are right. If you are a good enough interviewer that you can create an experience that people would be okay with spending that amount of time because they also feel like they are like having a great experience with you as the host and B, giving your community something of value, right? So I do think that's like a one up from getting started. Like, I don't know if I could pull that off as Katie, the interviewer. Like,
Yeah.
I still feel like I need to be better at carrying the conversation and be aware of how long my people are willing to be there. Like even for the VHS Club, for example, that show runs about an hour. I try to be really, really clear with any guests that I have that come on because it's later at night for us East Coasters. So it's going to be about an hour with tech check and with like buffer time, plan for about an hour and a half, maybe an hour 45, depending on, how long, things pan out. And most guests are fine with that. I do notice that in the times where we're like having a ball, chatting at the end, planning out our next episode, etc., the audience likes it right up until about that, like they've been there an hour and a half. And then I notice people being like, well, off to bed, gotta run, next thing, see you next time. Like the audience starts dropping off.
Well, that's because you do your
and
show
then even
really
when
late
my guest
too.
is there.
Yeah,
because it's late. So I do think that I'm 100% with you on if it's a great conversation, we shouldn't be. I don't think any interviewer should be advancing through the show and time gating. I think we should be focused more on the value we're bringing, the conversation we have, the experience. But yeah, I think there's some squishiness in there as well, because I do think I've been in a bunch of those situations. I will say too, shout out to Kirk, who doesn't get enough shouts out on this show or in the Ecamm fam, but he actually has, I think, the best interviewing experience for guests that I have experienced up until this point, in that he is very clear with the experience for a guest on his show. So he doesn't it's not like he replies back and sends like, here are the questions, here's the link to join, all the usual stuff. He actually sends back and walks you through what the experience is like in the reply. So it's like, hey, you're going to jump on at this time to this link. We're going to chat for a little bit. We'll do a tech check. We'll make sure everything's okay. Then we're going to go live. Here are the segments for my show. They each last about this amount of time. This is the expectation, and this is what we'll take it through. And then at the end of the show, we stop going live, but I'm going to switch into a Zoom room where my like VIP community gets to ask additional questions. If you're able to join that, we'd love to have you. This is the amount of time that roughly we go with for that. And this is what the expectation is. So I know when I'm blocking off time, not to have a heart out, because I understand what that experience is going to be like. I understand the value and the story and the journey he's taking me on as a guest. So it was nice because I didn't even need to have specific questions. Not that I hate getting questions in advance anyway, but I didn't have to have questions because I understood what the experience was that he was taking me on as a guest. And I had buy-in in that. I had agency in that. And I think that was really important. So I think he does a great job with that. I need to start taking some notes from his experience into my own interviewing plan as well, instead of just kind of sending links and sending stuff through.
Yeah, so it's funny. I was typing. I was feverishly responding to Gabe. This one is super super funny because I swear this came up yesterday in the Ecamm group. Somebody said the thing about he said I like something about I like intros, but fight me. And I'm like, listen, it provides no value to the viewer at all. Not a single one. And the comment one is, oh, well, it gives people time to join. Fam, if they want to be there on time, they'll be there on time. And it really does. That's just code for ego. I love that one because the old thing was true. You needed time for the internet to catch up. Yeah, but everybody's on gig fiber now. And like even things that aren't gig fiber, say you only got quarter gig fiber at this point, which is like 250. It's so fast now. Like it really doesn't take time. So those old school lies are crap. It really is the host ego because they don't want to talk to themselves. And don't do a show if you do not want to do it when no one's watching. That's just in the story, point blank, full cap. Like if you do not want to do the show where not a single person watches it, then don't do the show. If you need audience, then sorry, you're just going to suffer, right? Because now you're going to start thinking about yourself and not thinking about your audience. One thing that's really important I did want to bring up when it comes to hosting guests, and this is a very important question, and I have asked many of people that invite me onto the show, and they say we're going to do the little tech check or to get to know you thing first. I always say, okay, Katie, thanks for having me on the show. Really appreciate the opportunity. But for you and your audience, what does success look like?
Mm.
And then,
Mhm.
same thing. I was like, well, success for me would be that I answer as many questions for your audience as possible. I know your team asked me to send over an interview. Send over a bio. I really hate sending over bios because it's not about me. I'm coming to answer your people's questions. I really don't care. If I get to the point where I get to talk about, my product or this Ecamm or something that we're doing, I'm absolutely cool with that. But that's not even a must. I don't need you to promote any of my stuff. I'm not trying to sell a book, whatever. I really want to answer as many questions as possible for your people. Like that would be so they know what my expectations are. I know what their expectations are. So in the same token, if you're going to bring on a Matt, right? I'm going to say to Matt, what does success look like to you? And then for my audience, success looks like, explaining to them sort of how you get over the hurdles of managing, your neurodiversity and doing it when it's hard and, being a solo creator. Like those are the kind of the things we're going to lean into unless there's something else you want me to work with. And so we have that in the tech check or in the pre-talk. And then if you can do that, I think that really goes a long way to making the whole thing better for everybody.
But don't you dare do that unless you are 100% going to follow through on that, because there is definitely moments in time where I have had people say those things and then the conversation goes off in some different direction and then the guest is wondering why you bothered mentioning that at all, or like there was something really important to them and you didn't highlight it, or you've made them say it themselves in some weird way at the end. So I think that's a fantastic idea, but then jot those down and have those notes ready to go so that you're delivering on that promise in the actual episode itself.
Correct.
Expectations really, really matter.
You had some really good things in the listening section, and it talks about like your things that you're listening for as you're listening. Mm-hmm. And I love these. Mm-hmm. As I want to point them out. You're listening for emotion words, right? Mm-hmm. You're listening for hesitation in the question. So when you ask a question and the person's thinking it through and then they pause, Steven is so good at this. He's really one of the best at it. When he notices the person gets stuck, he'll say, hey, I noticed as you were answering that question, there was a moment where you paused and you kind of took a deep breath. What was going through your mind at that point? Like what was the hesitation? And then they go, well, there's a question that I get all the time, but, no one's ever really given me the chance to talk about, when my dad passed. And that sort of set me off in this journey. And I think I always think about the journey as I started because of this. But if I really gave myself opportunity, like today, it just reminded me that I probably set this journey off because of my dad, something of that nature, right? And then now You just let everybody in, you just opened up a floodgate. Now everybody's like, oh, that's where that relevancy or relatability kicks in. Relatability is a better term. Matt mentioned this earlier, right? The turning point, like what was your turning point?
Yep.
Like where was the pivot, right? So Paul fought tooth and nail, sickle and tongs about not wanting to do video, not wanting to do. Now we can't get this dude off the internet, right? So Paul, what was the turning point? What was it for you that made you finally be like, all right, I got my little piano over here and me and Maestro are going to be live today? Like that's a very, awesome question. Mistakes or struggle or something expected. And I think those are, as you're listening to what they're saying and you hear that unexpected, then people let this go right by them because they got their next question ready. And the person goes, yeah, it was at that point, like I kind of 10X my business. Okay, cool. So tell us about the new book. What? He just, at that point, he 10X, 10X, how you 10X? You just like, you're on to the next question, Jeff, because you wrote it down. He gonna fight me.
He's going to come back and fight you. No, I think actually I'm really glad that you called that out, because the thing that's important for us all to be thinking about, and I actually don't think that I've ever overtly considered this in my interviews, but now I absolutely will, is that what you are listening for is not actually their answer. Their answer is important and that's great, but you are listening for their tone, as you said, when they pause, when there's emotion in their voice, when they start saying something and then pause and change to say something else. So a change moment, when they have a really strong answer, when they're just like, absolutely not, like that you're looking for that, not what their answer is. Why do they feel so strongly about that? Where they contradict themselves. So you're actually not listening as much for their answer. The threads are in how they are interacting with you, what their tone is, what's making them uncomfortable, what are they really excited by, what are those moments, because that's where you're going to want to go off script and dive deeper and pull on those threads, are in those moments. And it's as easy as, tell me more about that. What were you about to say? What made you change your mind there? It's those moments that you're going to catch them a little bit off guard, a little bit less rehearsed, and you're going to get to the kind of the real meat and potatoes of of what they actually feel, of what they think, of what that experience really was, of what the story was behind it. So it's active listening, which I think we all generally know or understand that concept, but it's not really as important to listen for their answers as for how you are making them feel in that moment and what's hiding behind how they're presenting themselves.
Yeah.
So it's the inside voices. You're trying to listen for the inside voices, which is tricky, but I think more practice, you will get there.
I think a lot of people want to do interviews and they don't necessarily even listen to them. I'm like, because a lot of this stuff, it would just come automatically if you just listen to interviews. Or I saw this great thing by Hank Green, and I had to share it with my family because they cringe because I am a stranger talker. And they cannot stand that. It freaks them out, right? So we go to the airport.
I hate a stranger talker. I adore you, but I hate a stranger talker.
No, like you go to the airport, right? And we're standing into, so this line or whatever. And okay, now we're standing, now we're detained, we're holding our bags or whatever. And then like I'll say something to the person standing next to me, right? Just try to get their insight or see what they're feeling, whatever. Or just try to make them feel like, we're all in this together, right? And a lot of times it's super, super calming. But like if you're not a stranger talker, you're going to struggle with interviews because you're already afraid to talk to somebody else. I have no fear because what are they going to say to me? They can tell me to shut up. I'm cool with that. But like, I think you have to be willing to take the rejection. And if you're not a good stranger talker, you're going to probably struggle to do interviews because you're often going to have to interview somebody you know nothing about. Right. I had to interview Becky last month. I hadn't had a chance to do any back research on her or whatever. That was a phenomenal interview. Like it was actually because I'm a stranger talker. And the other thing that I think is super important is what Hank Green said in his thing. He was at the Heathrow airport. He was sitting there and he goes, I realized something, as we're sitting here and our planes got delayed. The fact that he is a stranger talker is what leads him to a level of curiosity. And he says, I just found out some things about, this person and their country and this or whatever. And we would be better as a society if we did more stranger talking, because the things that you don't know about, 71-year-old 6'4" dude that lives in Palo Alto is the things that you tell other people that you don't like about somebody that fits their description. But if you have a conversation with this person from the personal level about something else and you guys are going to bond over freaking British tuxedo cats, you just eliminated the other things that everybody else told you not to talk to him about. You see what I mean? But you wouldn't know that until you happen to look down at his bag and then there's a little, black cat like tag on the bag. And it was like, oh, you got a tuxedo? Oh yeah, me too. Oh yeah, me too. What's your name? Maestro. I named mine something else like Mr. Whiskers or whatever. It's how old is he? Oh, like this many months. And next thing you know, you guys are having a whole conversation. The things that your family told you not to talk about never even came up because you guys are cat people. You guys are all like that, right? Y'all are talking about the whole cat thing. You never even got to the part, that, he believes in this or he follows this religion or all the other BS that people tell us not to talk to people about, right? And so I say, when people say, well, I don't like so-and-so, how many of them do you know? How many have you actually broke bread with? How many of those people have you spent copious amounts of time with to find out that y'all both put your pants on the same way? Both of y'all, use the bathroom the same way. Both of y'all breathe oxygen, bleed blood. Like your hatred is normally ill placed. And it's normally ill placed because somebody else put that in your head because they didn't spend enough time with those people. And to make the story shorter, I heard so many crazy stories about, China until I went there for 3 months. And none of them was true. Not a single thing that I heard prior to being there was true. When I got there, there's all these little kids working in the factory. I'm like, yeah, bro, I work in tech. You know what little kids can do? Build Apples or build Microsofts or build, Stream Decks. They don't have the manual dexterity, bro. So like a kid working in a sweat factory making electronics, no. Those people that are making these things are smarter than you by a long shot. I mean, by a very long shot. So, yeah, it's one of those weird things that stranger talking definitely does help you.
Absolutely. Well, perfect timing for that because what we're all going to do, and Doc and I are going to do this as well, is we are going to give ourselves an assignment because this is a lab. So, what I want everyone to do, everyone who is watching this right now, hanging out with us live, everyone that catches this on the replay, there's no timeline for this. March. We'll do this in the month of March. I want you to find someone in the community that you don't know, not a friend, not a colleague, not someone that you don't know, or maybe someone whose name you've seen and you've had like some very like surface level conversation, but not a friend, not a close friend, not a family member. Doc and I can't interview each other. You're going to do a 15-minute interview with them. You're not going to record it. You're not going to record it. You're not going to live stream it. You're not going to let all of that get in your head. Pick your lab partner. Exactly. Pick your lab partner.
Frogs.
15-minute practice interview. You are going to focus on being curious. No research on the person in advance. You're going to ask all of the stranger conversation questions. You're going to let them ask you stranger conversation questions. You're going to pull on any of those threads. You're going to be curious. You're going to do active listening, and you're going to be present in the moment and all of the tips that we've been talking about in the last few episodes. And you're going to see how that feels. So you are going to be the host and you're going to be the guest in these conversations. And then I want you to share with us in the community, or if you're part of our email list, you can send us a voicemail, you can send us a video, you can hit reply in the email, however you want to share with us. What surprised you? What did you learn? Where did you interrupt each other? Where did you hesitate? What felt great? We want to know all of the details about the experience. So we're going to take action. Simple 15-minute interview, and the 15 minutes could be both sides, so 7.5 each, or it could be 15 and then 15 if you want to find the same partner. You can do this as many times as you want. But let's get into the habit and to the practice of having these kinds of conversations in a virtual space, focused entirely on the conversation, on being curious, on active listening, on asking good questions, on not over-researching and planning the entire thing. And let's figure out what we learned from that experience and share with each other. And we will do the same, and we will come back before next week and show you what we did. We will not record ours either. We got to find some friends for people.
Bring in Mike.
If you don't have any friends, then you're winning because this is a stranger conversation. So you're welcome in the Ecamm community to just say, hey, I'm a flow rider. I'm doing an interviewing challenge. Would anybody be willing to jump on a 15-minute call with me? We're not recording. We're not live streaming. We're just having a conversation. There's no wrong answers or right answers. There's just spending time together. Start asking those questions. If you need help, we will find lab partners for you. But I feel very confident that all of us are able to do this. It's a friendly group of folks.
That's good. I like this. What's wild is I was just thinking it through.
Doc might have a hard time. Doc knows everyone. You got to find a stranger.
Well, no, because I was thinking it through, right? So we were at Creator Camp, and then myself and Mary Lou, Paul, Brandon, we was all getting ready to go eat. And we just happened to see Matt standing there. I was like, hey, we're going to go eat. Get in the car. And Matt's like, wait, what? And so we just kidnapped Matt. Like, but now that I've let Matt eat some of my curry fries, I can't not interview Matt now because now we're friends.
Now you can't interview. Yep.
Like literally, that's how it's funny how these things happen. But it was literally, hey, dude, we're going to go eat. Get in the car. It was the end of the conversation.
Well, it'll be getting the Zoom, getting the Ecamm, getting the Ecamm. We're gonna share some fries together.
Like, what the heck is a curry fries? I was like, oh, little man, just be quiet, just eat it. Oh my God, these are good. And then we had some kind of, Matt said best kidnapping ever, right? So it's funny, but this is what I mean. Like, finding somebody that you can talk to, and then, we just have these, phenomenal conversations. We come to find out, this is a really, cool person. Definitely Ecamm fam all day, every day. Even though it was brand new, was not even sure about coming to this event, just decided to come. And then now we can't get rid of Matt, right? So this exercise, you will probably find one of your next cool friends, and you'd be surprised at how well just, positing the question and asking somebody, hey, would you like to do this? And next thing you know, you never know, right? I sent a question to a book author of a book once, and then he said, oh, yeah, I watch this show all the time. Wait, what? How the heck do you do that? And so I just don't know about this tech stuff. Like, I can write books all day long. I can write copy for multi-million-dollar brands, but I don't know anything about tech. So I was watching you about all this tech stuff. I had no idea. Like, I'm thinking that I'm reaching out to one of my heroes. And then he was like, yeah, I watch this show all the time. And next thing you know, we're good friends, So it's one of those things that can absolutely happen. This is going to be fun. So please, people, dive in. Grab your notebook. Get your little paper down here. Katie made this nice homework for y'all. Go do some homework. Go interview some kin folks. And this ought to be fun. All
right, so
Gabe,
housekeeping. All right, Gabe, you and I are already friends, so you doesn't count. We got to find. We'll have to catch up on it as friend. Yeah, we'll have a friend chat. But okay, so if you are brand new and you are not yet part of the community, you're like, what community are you talking about? If you go to Ecamm, 2Ms, ECAMM.tv/community, that will drop you into the community. That's where you can ask. You don't have to be an Ecamm customer or part of the Flow Riders, or you could be brand new and be in there. Even better, than you're a stranger that people can talk to. So win-win. So that's the community. If you want the worksheet, you can swing over Ecamm, ECAMM.tv/interview lab. That's a worksheet. If you're like me and you need like somewhere to put your notes, some questions to help you frame this stuff up, that's just hopefully a helpful worksheet on interviewing techniques and tips, and help you hopefully put the reps in. So those are two different options for you, but those are the links to be able to access that. And we'll make sure that within the community we drop a post with all the details as well. But we can't wait to see what you come up with. It's going to be hard for Doc and I to find people we don't know, because we're pretty active in the community space. We need to put out like a call like, have we not talked before?
Yes. So luckily there are some brand new people who just came into the community. We got to find them and see if we can get them on. But yeah, it will be a lot of fun. Dang, I was just going to interview Jill. Even though we talk like once a week.
Jill.
That'd be super funny. Gabe, we're going to do our interview and we will have to record it, but we're just going to do them shot for shot. By the time we get to the end of the interview, it's going to be pretty hilarious.
Well, round two, you can interview someone you know. Once you've checked the box on someone you don't know, then it's okay to have coffee time and tea time and shot time or whatever.
I was like, how'd you get back to coffee and tea? I was trying to do tequila, the one thing that I can't drink.
Whatever you want to do. Yeah.
All right, gang, this is a lot of fun. This is super cool. Something really cool about the practical sessions that we've been doing, because even in the process of working these things up, and try to, deliver the information to you, it's always a strong reminder to us of things that we have, coming and, that we're working on as well. So even if you've done this before, probably do it again. Like, you'd be surprised at the type of stuff that, will come to your mind when you walk through your process and you think about what it is that you really do. So again, do the interview lab, left, right, or indifferent. Can't wait to see what you guys get. Don't forget that you can absolutely go and check us out at flow.ecamm.com, flow.eca2ms.com, and you can leave us reviews, leave us questions, the whole 9 yards. And don't forget, next week is Mailbag. So Mailbag is when you send in your questions. Me, Doc, who has to put them together, prefer if you do them landscape, Matt. But we'll take them either way, Matt. If you do it vertically, Matt. But please send them in, and to be your questions, you can write them in. You can write them in. You can write them in. You can make a video. You can just send a message in one of our DM sections, and we'll get the mailbag situation together for next week. I can't wait to dive in and see what kind of questions that you have. We already got one input from Sandra, so thank you for that. I can't wait. I can't wait to get them in, Matt. So get your mailbag.
You send them however you want, Matt.
Yeah, I know. Matt gonna send his in sideways or like in a circle next time because, Ecamm, you can send them in squircle. Yeah. So please get those over to us. We can't wait to do mailbag next week. This has been a lot of fun. And you know what we say around here? Flow Riders, out.
Out.